Well, howdy YouTube. Welcome or welcome back. Paul, Attempted Auto, and we're back on the Deucebag. Let's get a chassis built. I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, it should be all right. I did clean up some, well, I didn't clean up any measurements. I just kind of verified and adjusted a couple measurements on this. I don't know if you can see this at all. First step though, let's get this front clip back apart and out of my way. And then we're going to get this body cut off of the body jig. Then that body jig is going to magically become a chassis jig. And we're going to start putting the chassis together. So my kick up for the rear wheel is 14 inches out, 12 inches high on the back here. And I am 28 inches roughly from this angle, this bend here, to the center of my axle, right here, 28 inches. All right. We've engineered this. I actually kind of re-engineered it, and I said, no, I'm going with the original one. If I'm wrong, it'll be close enough, I think. I don't know. I did add some more measurements and stuff, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. Right now, we're worried about getting this shape. Two frame rails that are identical is what we're shooting for. So we got to figure this little kick up here. I have 109 inches of steel. Then we're going to go up to paralleled frame that's 12 inches higher, and I have 14 inches for this angle. So here's what we got. Kind of drew it out a little bit just to figure it all out. So we're going to work with triangles here. So if this is a right triangle, meaning it has 190 degree, we know that that 90 degree is 14 inches this way. We know it is 12 inches this way. Okay, so we have a 90 degree. You could do the math. I actually did this to scale to save me a little bit of math. using the square, whoops, using the square, we go off the bottom of the frame rail here to our pivot point, and it gives us 40 degrees. I don't know if I'm sitting exactly right, but it's 40 degrees here. Okay, so our bottom cut to get these two pieces of steel together is half of that, right? So 20? Well, not quite, because this is 180 degrees across here. So if I'm 40 this way, my cut is actually going that way. So 180 minus 40, I have 140 degrees left over here. So 70 degrees is what's going to split this angle correctly. So we're going to cut at 109 inches, we're going to cut a 70-degree angle on that stick of rectangle tubing right there. That will give us this angle here. Now, if you look at my tubing, it has a seam across the bottom. I want to keep that seam across the bottom. So I can't just flip that steel over and use that other angle here. I'm going to have to cut a separate piece to keep my angle on the bottom. So what's the length of that piece? Well, simple. Well, simple-ish. Alright, to find a distance on a right triangle, it is a squared plus b squared will equal c squared. Let me fire up this thing here. Calculator. Oops. Okay. So, let's fire up the calculator and find out. See if I can hold this so you can see it. So we know, what do we know? We know that this angle is 12 inches. I'm sorry, not angle. We know that this distance is 12 inches. And we know that this distance is 14 inches. So, 14 squared plus 12 squared equals 340. We need the square root of that, or we need the tangent of that. So we're going to go 340. And we know that this this length is 18.44 inches long. Now we're going to shrink that a little bit so there's a gap for weld. So we'll make it, 18 and whatever, a third. That would be silly. 18 and 7/16, maybe a little shy of 7/16, and then we'll be able to cut them in. So let's start taking our measurements, and let's start cutting out some frame rails. Okay, let's find our 109 inches. See if I can catch this. Oh, there we go. 109 inches, which is right there. Right here. Now, a good scratching tool is actually a broken cutoff wheel. Makes a great scratch tool. So, let me get that marked. Right here, 109 inches. And that's a straight up and down mark. Now we will find 70 degrees off of that. Oh, which is, come down a little further. Scratch this down a little further. Let's try that. And eyeball 70 degrees. And there is our cut line for that. Right here. So I will mark that all the way around. cut that. I don't know if I'm going to dig out my metal saw or if I'm just going to freehand it with a grinder wheel. We'll see how it comes out. But that'll be my first cut. Let me get that thing. Yeah, let me make one whole side and then we'll use it as a pattern. First cut down. Again, can't really use it like this, but that's going to be kind of my angle. So, alright, keep making some pieces. I still have to pretty these up, but it's pretty good. It's pretty tight. I'm level there. I'm level there, so I've got it pretty square. I've got it pretty good all the way around. I guess you can't see all the way around, huh? So, but anyways, like I said, I'll just clean it up a little bit. Before I weld this all in, I am gonna put a piece of flat stock behind this, do a couple plug holes, and I'll weld on the inside so that it's even a little bit stronger. But I got lucky accidentally. Here's my seam. Here's my seam. These two, the leftover scrap, is going to be exactly long enough for the upright on the other frame rail. So the steel is almost all cut out. I have one more piece. You see that stick right there? I have that angle right. I still have to cut this one, but I want to just make sure what my length is before I chop that down. And the other thing is I'm kind of thinking I might redesign this a little bit. And that is, let's see if I can find my CAD. I'm gonna have to set you down. Sorry, you gotta look at me for a second. My CAD. Cardboard, I don't know. Anyways, I went 44 inches across the back on here, and then I have a straight narrow taper down to the 27 in the front. And what I'm thinking of doing is, can you still see it? At this angle right here, this pivot point, which is that pivot point, I'm thinking I want to go my 44 inches at here rather than at the back rail, and then go straight, you know, maintain those 44s parallel to the back of the car. I think that would give me a better perimeter frame, but the difference I think is because I'm going to be making this angle steeper, you know, from the front of the cab, or the front of the, from the front of the cowl, speak Paul, speak, to the 44 inches is less of a space, which is going to give me tighter than 27 up here. So these rails are going to have to bend out for the fenders to work, and for the grill, the radiators to fit normal, which isn't that big of a deal. I can cut and bend these. I think it'll actually make for a nicer looking front end, and I think it'll make for a better perimeter frame. But that makes some compound angles, you know, in these corners. So I held off for a second. So we're gonna do what we can do first while I'm still thinking. I am going to bevel this a little bit more before I weld it. I'm not too worried that this is gapped a bit on the bottom, because that'll just give me a better weld. I can fill that in. Now these little plates here, I'm gonna gusset this from the inside. I bet that was really loud on camera. I'm going to gusset these from the inside, which means 2 plug weld holes. So we're just going to lay this on here, set you someplace where you can watch. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set that on there. We're going to trace around it. Like so. That'll make this the right rail. And we will do the same on the other side, and I have no idea if the camera is looking at me, but just know I'm doing the exact same thing on this side. Like so. That gives me an idea of where to drill my plugs. And this is the left rail. So on these plugs, I've also rounded them and I've beveled them. And that's because I'm hoping to paint the inside of this frame by dragging a rag on a rope in either side, just through the frame, back through the frame with paint on it. And I don't want it to snag on anything, so I just kind of rounded this all off. This will actually go that way into there. So let me drill these 2 holes, put a better bevel, then we'll fire up the big welder, and we'll burn these in, and then we'll get these welded in. Now, on a serious note, I am a troubleshooter for the power company. I'm not a designer, I'm not a welder, I'm not an engineer. I am building this in my way too small garage with, I don't know, YouTube knowledge. If you're going to do this, if you're following along with me, that's great. If anything seems questionable to you, get a second opinion. Look into it, do your own research, okay? I am building this to the best of my abilities, my knowledge, and what I'm able to figure out, you know, doing my own research. And I encourage you to do the same. The other really important thing, make sure you're honest about your welding skills. This is your life sitting on here. This is also the lives of people that are on the road with you. If you can't stick it together good, you know, the kind of penetration that Bonnie Blue would be proud of. If you can't do that with your steel, don't do this. Stick it together, take it to somebody else that can finish weld it. This is, you know, it's up to you. Make sure that you have the welding part right. You can make an ugly body, you can put a bad engine together and blow it up and get a ride home in a wrecker. You can do a lot of things that are okay with, you know, marginal skills. Welding up your chassis, welding up your suspension, make sure that you can stick metal together before you try that. Okay? All right, that's the end of that. Let's put some metal together. Owie. Careful. Alright. Clean these up a little bit. Fix these bevels and get the welder fired up. Alright, now avoiding warpage is kind of important. Let's get this up a little bit further. So make sure we're on there. You can see I have that one welded. Make sure we're sitting square where we want to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to tack. We got this one side plug welded in, not the other yet. So we're going to tack the corners. I might have the wire feed a little slow. Oh, I got the ground clamp on that other side. Hold on a second. Tack these two corners. Okay, 4 corners tacked. We're going to do the top seam. Then my ground clamp's going to fight me again, but see if we can get this. Now we're going to do the bottom. I don't know if you're looking at what you need to or not. Get the bottom in. We're going to go back to that plug hole. I'm going to fill in that plug hole. Hopefully you can see. Anyways, with that plug hole, we are going to do the other side. And lastly, we're going to get this one. Just like that, guys. Now again, I'm not claiming to be a professional welder, but I can promise you that it's gonna hold a car together. So, and also, let me get that out of the way. It still lays flat to the table. So, alright, so now we're gonna just match the other side, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna build it right on top of this one, because I want these exact. I want my angles perfect. I want my start and stop points perfect. So I'm gonna just go ahead and buzz that one in on top of this one. Nothing hopefully will happen, so I can just do that and then bring you back. Something weird happens, then we'll stop and show you. But yeah, we'll get this one so that it matches that one, and then we'll go on to the next step. Dang it, I hit the wrong button and stopped it. Oh, can't check them there. They're good. We're good. We did it. So we have 2 perfectly symmetrical frame rails. Okay, so now we have to do a little bit of figuring. Like I said, originally I was just going to leave them a wedge. I think it would just look better, and I think it would work better if my 44 inches, my widest point, is at this joint here, and then I roll in. Although I just thought of the downside of that, and that is I can't put a plug weld on an angled joint. Well, I guess I could. I would have to bend them, which I could do that. I could match them on the outside, and if the angle's right on the outside, it would be right on the inside, or close enough to fill with weld. So I'll have to figure out how much in these are going to come. But first, I guess I'm just going to lay these out, see what 44 inches here looks like, find roughly where the cowl is going to be on the body, and set that at, I think, 32. I have it written down, and then let's just see what that looks like on the end. I don't know, then I'll make the decision. Let me get this laid out real quick. I'm gonna have to knock those little things off because they're right at 32. All right, give me a couple minutes. Well, a couple seconds for you, a couple minutes for me, and we'll move on. I just have that temporarily hooked at 44 inches. I didn't find center yet, so this is not really correct or proper, but it's 44 inches. I'll be able to eyeball what I'm looking for. Because I don't know if you can see or not, but because of that being clamped while this is angled, it's kind of rolling these in a little bit. So again, this is just really rough mock-up. So I'm trying to find the front of the cowl. So 32 inches from the front of the cowl is where I want to be. So 32 inches on the outside of the frame at wherever the front of the body is going to be. Now I've written down here, and I think again these are somewhat generic. We're going to fit the body before we burn anything in tight. But I'm 80 inches from the center of the rear axle to the front of the cowl. Okay, so 80 inches from the axle center. Now the axle center is 28 inches from this point right here. So 80 inches from here, 80 minus 28, that gives me 52 inches. So I got to come up 52 inches from here, and that will give me where the cowl needs to be 32, or where the frame needs to be 32 inches for the front of the cowl. Now 52 inches, this is angled. If I just measure down the frame, I'm going to be less than that. So I have to measure a straight line from the down the body cart to my 52 inches. Yay. If you look, like I said, I've lost square, I've lost my angles. I just want it close enough that'll give me some idea of how much smaller I'm going to be at the end, because I need to be 27 inches outside to outside at the very end of this frame, or I'm going to have to bend the rails, and like I said, that'll determine how the fenders and everything else fit. So I just want to find my 32 and my 44 for now, and just see what that gives me on the front. Because as long as I'm close to square, if I'm within, you know, an inch, it's perfect. If I'm more or less than an inch, well, that means I'm going to have to do some notching and some twisting on the frame. So let's see if I can work this out. Set you here, nice and crooked like. All right. So again, we're coming straight up the frame, or I'm sorry, straight up the body to find my 52 inches. I think the easiest way to do that, get this anyway, let's just move this piece of steel back. Not all of these rails are bolted in. So there, again, close enough. You could see that I'm crooked, right? I mean, my body cart is straight. You can see that I have way more gap here. So this whole thing is twisted some. But let's just see what we get. 52 inches. I should square this up. This would actually help a lot. Take the time to square this up. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. 52. 52. And here I need to be 32 inches. If that's 32, I am 27 at about here, which is less than I need. Okay, so the frame is definitely going to need to be tweaked, bent out. These rails will have to be bent out. That is something we're going to wait to do once we have the body temporarily mounted, so that I can make this right for the fender and for the radiator. So now that we know roughly where that's all going to be, I'm going to put these two together again. I'm going to unclamp all this, put them flat level together, and I'm going to make a bunch of reference marks on these frames, left to right. That way, when I'm squaring it up, when I'm taking my measure, I know that I will have a mark on this rail that matches a mark on that rail. So I'm going to take the couple minutes to do that. Then we will assemble it like it is now, but square with my angles correct, and tack a couple of cross braces, whatever I need to it, and then we're going to set the body on it for the first time and figure out what I need to do for mounts for that. Temporary at first, just because there's going to be a bazillion little adjustments. And I think that's my next step. We'll make sure we have these things where they belong again. Good and tight. Let's lean out, but oh no. Okay, right there, we're going to take the square, we're going to take this broken cutoff wheel, and like I said, we're just going to leave a bunch of reference marks. Like that. I should do it. I've got one here that I might as well finish up. Okay. So now that'll help me get this thing square, keep it square. And like I said, just give me measuring points. I know that from here to here is, well, I guess I should have measured these. Here to here is 12 7/8, and here to here is also 12 7/8, and vice versa all the way down the frame. That'll save me a bunch of headaches later when it's time to get this thing all squared and right. So, all right. So now let's get the cart. Let's find center point on this cart and build this again, but this time how it actually is going to be, and just tack those pieces of angle in place just to hold it there, and I guess then we'll work on the rear rails. So yeah, that should work. This is I guess the results. I've got this braced off here, welded up here. I'll zip these off along with the frame so I can throw the body on it, but put you someplace where you can maybe see. This is going to be a little difficult to do or see with the camera, but if I go off of that bottom corner, it's one of my marks. I have 61 inches to the edge off of the other one. Right there. Honest it is. There you go, 61 inches. The mark. These X's here, I have them at a mark right on the edge. Took my square right on the edge, and I am 4.5 inches to this mark, and I am fingers on it, 4.5 inches to that mark. But you probably didn't see any of that, but it's square. Now the problem is these are not strong enough to hold it as one unit, so I'm going to have to probably tack these to, or maybe I'll just clamp. Maybe I'll just clamp a couple of those braces to it so that I can move it. But that's where I'm at now. Like I said, I'm just gonna rip the excess angle off, and next step will be to get it off of the body cart and get the body set over it, and see what we got to measure next. So it's a couple days later. That's usually the way things go, right? We get rain or I get work or whatever. I have the frame. Well, first off, I have some orange paint here. I had set the body on this just to take measurements, just to verify measurements. I'm actually perfect width-wise. These are, I don't know, they follow the wheel tubs or wheel wells fairly well. I'm a little taller, I guess, than I probably needed to be, but it's good that way. But I measured from the back of this piece of steel for my top rail, my rear frame rail, and I had, find my cardboard here, I had called it 29 inches from this angle here, which is the top of this, to the back. And after setting the body on it, it's 26.25 is how big I need that to be. So I've taken a whole bunch of time, got myself all sweaty, getting this thing all square, making sure that I'm perfectly flat and level and everything. I've leveled my body cart, so this thing is where it needs to be. Now these rails are going to be parallel with each other, whereas these rails here obviously taper in. I'm moving you all over the place. So they taper in. Here's my center, and you can see, and if that doesn't look directly center, it's because this edge here is center. I didn't center the piece, that way I could just measure off of this edge. But if you see, I taper out. I think I'm like 25 in the front and I'm 44 in the back. These rails are going to have to probably be bent out somewhere where the body is, but that's another project. First things first, we got to get the tail or the rear rails on this thing, which means we have to figure out this angle right here so that we can bring it parallel. Now the way I think I'm going to do that, like I said, I verified straight and level and even and everything else. I think if I just set this here and move this so that I am flush and flush, like so, this is going to be my angle. So I could just mark that, measure that, transfer it to the back, transfer it to these pieces, and I can just turn them in parallel. So let me scribe this and measure it, and we'll see how it works out in the back. Let me make sure I didn't just bump anything. I'm actually going to mark it on the inside, just so I have more room to get a measure. Of course, my broken disc being the choice to measure with. Alright, so that should be square. Now we can verify that by taking a measure. We are 8 7/8, and we are 8 7/8 strong. Eyeballing this measurement, maybe I didn't get it exactly right. Okay. 8 7/8. 8 7/8. Okay. So we are square there. That is the measurement that we need. So let's see what that measurement is. are sitting at, it looks like 94 degrees. So it's a 4-degree angle on the frame rail, right? Because I'm after 90 and I'm 94. So, all right, so we have to take those frame rails 4 degrees out, and that will be the compound angle that we're after to get a parallel frame rail. Let's see if it works. All I could really do is eyeball it for now, but it seems like it follows the cart. It seems like it follows that same line. Let me see if I can do this in an intelligent way. So that is even with, that's even with the cart. I hope I have you pointing in the right direction. We are going to quickly make a plumb bob. And if I hold this square, it's touching everywhere. Come on, stop swinging. I mean, it's just an eyeball check, but it looks really close. Close enough that I'm willing to tack it and then see what it's going to do. So let me make the next cut. 26 and a quarter from the bottom here, and I'll 45 that. But you don't need to see that cut. Let me shut you off and make a real quick cut and bring it back. I believe these are going to be good, these frame rails. This one I cleaned up, that one I haven't, but if you look, they're the exact same length. So that should help me keep this thing staying symmetrical side to side. And I would weld them in right now, except 2 things. One, I bumped this cart when I was flipping this piece of 2x3 around, so I'm not sure I'm leveled anymore. And 2, my wife just told me that dinner's ready, and that's more important. So tomorrow after work, we will finish up this frame. But until then, I'm going to clean up real quick and eat, hang out with the kid and the wife. See you tomorrow. So what I already have these tabs welded in. I've bent them so they're parallel with the other side, and this is how I'm hoping to put these rails on here and keep them straight. Here's my rail here. You can see I already put the plug welds in. So this plug weld here came out a little ugly. I didn't clean it very well, so I cleaned it back up, ground that down, tried it again. I walked it a little bit. Super solid, just ugly on the outside. I can actually grind these down. I'm probably going to leave my welds, but I'll probably grind the plugs down flat. Anyways, So my angle finder, I leveled the frame, but for some reason with all the movement, oh no, I'm good. I'm at 0. I thought I was a degree ahead. So we're gonna match that here. A minute. Oh, I'm getting you a little too close. And it looks like I bought the cheapest Harbor Freight angle finders I can. I don't know if that's just gonna wiggle for the rest of its life, but as you can see, it's at 0. So hopefully that will slide on here. I'm not going to be able to have parallel perfect yet, but I did really good with these plugs. And the one thing I didn't do, I've got these angles good enough, but on the top I took a little too much off, so it's a little bit wide. Not too wide for me to jump it. So let me get that on here. Get that on here. And when I am 0 and 90, I know I'm good. I will just fit this up. I'm a little wide on the bottom. Hopefully that needs to go. It does. It needs to go a little bit. All right, like that. So when I'm happy with what these two are telling me, I'm gonna just tack the tops for now. Maybe yeah, probably just 2 on the top. That way, if I have to break something and adjust it, I can. But I'm gonna just stick this, do the same on here. Then we'll take some measurements, make sure that we are parallel and square with the rest of the frame, and then I'll buzz them in. Well, we're down to 1 angle finder, but I'm pleased with the angle that it found. So we buzzed that sucker in. Now we'll take some measurements, figure out how close to square we are, put this someplace safe until I get to Harbor Freight with, you know, $7 in my hand. Let's get this thing out of the way. Oh, after pulling this side apart again, I realized that my corner to corner was off because this was actually rolled. So we are, set you back up here. I have them stuck down. I have them level. I am, I don't know if I can get you in there or not, I'm 44 inches. So you can't see anything. Come here. I am 44 inches to the back. 44 inches to the front. Get over there. I am 51 and a half. And I'm gonna have to edit some of this movement out. 51 and a half. So we are now where we belong. So I will buzz these in, and that will be that. Okay, all stuck down. You can see I grounded. On these 2 inside welds, I had a little bit of a hollow sound, so I knew I was blowing through. So I wanted to make sure that I had solid penetration. So I took it down. This one I actually put another second layer of weld on. But I mean, we're good. It's not going anywhere. It's very solid. It's, you know, good penetration. It just, like I said, it got me nervous because I know I blew through, and I just wanted to make sure. So Hey, some days your welds look good, some days your grinds look good, but as long as it holds together. All right, I'm not going to drop these in yet because I think they might interfere with the body. I will cut them out. These are just 90s. These are just coming down 12 inches like that, even with the bottom of the frame. And that's just so that I have some protection here for probably my gas tank. So I think we are ready for a whole bunch of fitment. So guys, with the perimeter frame done, I'm going to call this the end of the video. This is episode, I think, 4 of... Nope, I believe it is episode 3. It's going to be a bunch of editing for me, because we have we have a whole bunch of things to fit. Body has to go on, drivetrain has to go in, rear axle has to be located, the front frame rails I know need spread. I don't know how much. I don't know how far we have to set the motor under the body, or how far we can set it out. Dimensionally, my wheelbase has to look right, my front fenders have to look right, but I got a pretty good sized motor going in this thing, and it has to look right. So we have a lot of tearing apart and putting together in the next episode. And because of that, I'm just going to end this sucker here. Thanks a whole bunch for watching. Guys, give me a like, give me a subscribe, leave me a comment. Tell me I'm doing a terrible job. I don't really care. If you have some helpful advice, I would love to take it, because I've never built a car to this extreme before. You know, I've swapped about everything you could swap out. I've welded in motor mounts. I've done all that, but I've never actually built a car from nothing. And so we're going to learn all of this together. Next video, you are going to see my drivetrain choice. You are going to see... Where are you going? Nah, that probably is the next video. I might be getting ahead of myself. But we're going to get it assembled. It's going to look like a car, mostly, by the end of the next video. So tune in, and hope you like it. Until then, bye.